Okay.
Hello everyone, I'm Lalita Lavanya Shriyas, your moderator for today. I first want to take a moment to applaud each and every one of you who is present here for your incredible curiosity and enthusiasm towards delving into Alzheimer's topic. It's amazing to see a genuine interest in understanding and learning about this important topic. So, before we begin, let me give you a small introduction about ThinkMed organization. Our organization is led by students who are passionate about medicine and healthcare. We come from diverse backgrounds, ranging from pre med students to those studying in public health, nursing, and other health related fields. Through our organization, we aim to create a space where students can explore their interest and develop their skills on the community. We organize various events and activities such as quizzes, educational workshops, seminars, and volunteering opportunities to promote health awarenesses and to provide resources to those in need. Whether you are a student interested in healthcare or simply looking to make a difference, we welcome you to join us in our mission. So now I think it's the time to introduce our eminent speaker for today. With great pleasure that I introduce our guest speaker for today, Dr. Imran Khan sir. He's an accomplished assistant professor of neurology at prestigious King George Medical University, KGMU, Lucknow. With a profound dedication to the field of neurology, Sir has made significant contributions to his research and clinical expertise, earning recognition and respect in the field of medical community. Today, we are fortunate to have you, sir, share their insights and knowledge with us on a topic of great importance in the field of neurology. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Imran Khan, sir. We welcome you with great pleasure.
Thank you.
Should we start?
Yes, sir. You can start.
Hello everyone. Today's topic is Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease बेसिकली हिंदी में से बोलते हैं भूलने की बीमारी है या मनोभ्रंश बोलते हैं. आज का ये जो टॉपिक है हमारा डिवाइड होगा इनसाइड ह्यूमन ब्रेन. ब्रेन हमारा कैसे वर्क करता है, क्या क्या ब्रेन में हमारे जो मेन फंक्शंस होते हैं जो हमारी मेमोरी को, डेली लाइफ को कवर करते हैं. डेमोग्राफी क्या है, भूलने की जो बीमारी है, अल्जाइमर्स है या डिमेंशिया है. डिमेंशिया इज ए अम्ब्रेला टर्म, ब्रॉड टर्म होता है जिसके अंदर डिमेंशिया के अलग अलग पार्ट्स होते हैं. अल्जाइमर उसका एक हिस्सा है. अल्जाइमर की डेमोग्राफी क्या है उसके बारे में बात करेंगे. व्हाट इज द पैथोफिजियोलॉजी ऑफ अल्जाइमर्स उसके बारे में हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे. अल्जाइमर को हम लोग डायग्नोज कैसे करें, ठीक है. उसके अलावा अल्जाइमर के क्या क्या पॉसिबल ट्रीटमेंट्स है एंड व्हाट आर द फ्यूचर ट्रेंड्स फॉर द अल्जाइमर्स. So now we will start from the first slide. It is inside the human brain. As you can see on the screen, human brain. To understand the Alzheimer's disease, it is important to know a bit about the brain. Adult brain weight about 3 pounds. Adult size adult brain size is medium cauliflower size. The human brain has 100 billion neurons and 100 trillion synapses. In human brain, there are 3 main players. The first main player is cerebral hemispheres, where sensory information received from the outside world is processed. This part of brain controls voluntary movements and regulates conscious thoughts and mental activity. And cerebral hemisphere accounts for 85% of brain weight. Consists of 2 hemispheres connected by corpus callosum. And these cerebral hemispheres are covered by an outer layer called cerebral cortex. The next main player is cerebellum, which is balancing part, in charge of balance and coordination. That makes about 10% of brain, consists of 2 hemispheres, receives information from eyes, ears, and muscles, and joints, and body's movement and position. The third main player is brainstem, which connects the brain from the spinal cord. The brainstem relays and receives messages to and from muscles, skin, and other organs. Controls automatic functions such as heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing. Also known as vital centers, which are situated in the brainstem, especially in the medullary part. The other crucial part of brain are hippocampus. Hippocampus hippocampus where short-term memories are converted into long-term memories. And there is a part that is called thalamus, receives sensory and limbic information and sent to the cerebral cortex. One of the important part of brain, that is hypothalamus, monitors certain activities and controls body's internal clock, that is controlled by the suprachiasmatic nucleus. The limbic system controls emotions and instinctive behavior, includes hippocampus and parts of the cortex. In the human brain, there are different parts which are assigned for particular works. Like for hearing the words, that is Wernicke's area, that is situated in the temporal lobe. Speaking the word, that is Broca's area. And there are seeing the word, visuospatial areas, and thinking about the word. Different mental activities take place in different parts of the brain. PET scans can measure this activity. Chemicals tagged with a tracer light up activated regions shown in red and yellow. What is the neuron? Neuron is the miniature cells of the human brain. The brain has billions of neurons, each with an axon and many dendrites. To stay healthy, neurons must communicate with each other, carry out metabolism, and repair themselves. In Alzheimer's disease, the Alzheimer's disease disrupts all three of these essential jobs, that is, metabolism, repair, and communications. Now, what is dementia? Dementia, in simple words, we can say मनोभ्रंशीय भूलने की बीमारी. Worldwide, around 50 million people have dementia, and 10 million cases are every year reported globally. Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia and may contribute 60 to 70% of cases. Dementia is one of the major causes of disability and dependency among older pupils globally. Dementia has a physical, psychological, social, and economic impact not only on people with dementia but also caregivers, families, and societies at large. Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia in people 65 years or older. Affect 10% of people over age of 65 and 50% of people over age of 85. Approximately 4 million Alzheimer's disease patients in the United States annually reported. Alzheimer's disease is the fourth leading cause of death in the United States. And if we talk about the India, the prevalence in India, the data is not very sufficient. Whatever data is reported from Shyamal Kedas, that is Alzheimer's disease is 1.3% prevalence in India, while vascular dementia, the second most common cause, is 1.1%. Now, dementia is an umbrella term. Then what are the possibilities if a patient comes to you with the complaint of dementia, भूलने की बीमारी है? There are so many possibilities, that is called differential diagnosis. What we can think in a patient of dementia? First, we should think about Alzheimer's disease. If the patient is older age and develops dementia, in Alzheimer's, dementia is slowly developed and mainly the problem is with the memory. Memory प्रॉब्लम इज द फर्स्ट, देन नेविगेशन प्रॉब्लम, रास्ते भूलने की प्रॉब्लम, उसके बाद पर्सनालिटी चेंजेस आते हैं अल्जाइमर में. जैसे पेशेंट कपड़ों में पेशाब कर लेना, सबके सामने कपड़े उतार देना, जो डिसइनिबिटरी फीचर्स होते हैं वो आने लगते हैं पेशेंट में. वो फ्रंटोटेम्पोरल डिमेंशिया में प्रीडोमिनेंट होते हैं, जबकि अल्जाइमर के अंदर मेमोरी और नेविगेशन की प्रॉब्लम ज़्यादा होती है. इफ वी टॉक अबाउट द डिमेंशिया, the differential diagnosis are Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, frontotemporal dementia, Lewy body dementia, normal pressure hydrocephalus, depression, and other like alcohol and Parkinson disease associated dementia. Neurocephalus is not so common in today's era. The prevalence of Alzheimer's disease, currently we are expecting the Alzheimer's patients 6.8 million annually, which will be almost doubled in next 20 years. And Alzheimer's disease continuum, Alzheimer's disease progress gradually. It is not a sudden disease. If dementia develops sudden onset, this is vascular. If dementia develops subacute, that can be paraneoplastic or Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. If dementia is slowly, then we think about the degenerative disease like Alzheimer's disease and frontotemporal dementia. The progression of dementia is preclinical Alzheimer's disease, then mild cognitive. In preclinical Alzheimer's disease, there are no symptoms in the patient. If we image, we can find atrophies, but clinically patient is okay. In mild cognitive impairment, very mild symptom that may not interfere daily routine activity of patient. Dementia due to Alzheimer's disease in case of mild symptoms interfere with some daily activity. In case of moderate, many daily activities are affected. In case of severe symptoms interfere with most daily activities and patients are dependent on the family member for the activities of daily living. Although these arrows are of equal size, the component of Alzheimer's disease continuum are not equal in the duration. Now we will talk about the pathology of Alzheimer's disease. There are three consistent neuropathological hallmarks for the Alzheimer's disease. First is amyloid-rich senile plaques. Second is neurofibrillary tangles. Third is neuronal degeneration. These changes eventually lead to clinical symptoms, but they begin years before the onset of symptoms. In Alzheimer's disease, plaques and tangles are hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. The brains of people with Alzheimer's disease have abundance of two abnormal structures. That is beta amyloid plaque, which are dense deposits of protein, and cellular material that accumulate outside and around nerve cells. Neurofibrillary tangles, which are twisted fibers that build up inside the nerve cell. Then actual Alzheimer's disease plaque and tangles are shown on the screen. Beta amyloid plaque, immunocytochemical staining of senile plaque in an isocortex of a brain with anti-amyloid antibody, which can be shown on the screen. Now, neurofibrillary tangles, beta amyloid plaque. How beta amyloid plaque are deposited and how they damage the brain. Amyloid precursor protein is the precursor to amyloid plaque. Amyloid precursor protein sticks through the neuron membrane. Enzymes cut the amyloid precursor protein and fragments of protein, including beta amyloid. These beta amyloid fragments clumps and form clumps and disrupt the work of neurons. This affects the hippocampus, entorhinal cortex, and other part of the brain. In the third slide, in the third picture, you can see beta amyloid plaque are deposited and hampering the working of neurons. Now, neurofibrillary tangles. Neurons have an internal support structure partly made up of microtubules. A protein called tau helps stabilize microtubules. In Alzheimer's disease, tau changes causes microtubules to collapse and tau protein clumps together to form neurofibrillary tangles. The changing brains in Alzheimer's disease, PET scan of normal brain, which can be shown red area, blue area, red area, yellow area, which is normal. But in case of Alzheimer's disease, whole brain is light up with the blue color. Signs of Alzheimer's disease first noticed in the entorhinal cortex, then proceed to the hippocampus. Affected region begins to shrink as nerve cell die. Changes can begin 10 to 20 years before the symptoms appear. And memory loss, of course, is the first sign of Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease spreads through the brain. The cerebral cortex begins to shrink as more and more neurons stop working and die. In case of mild Alzheimer's disease, memory loss, confusion, handling money, poor judgment, and mood changes are common. In case of moderate, language and thoughts and agitation, wandering and repetitive statement and perseverance can be seen. In case of severe Alzheimer's disease, extreme shrinkage occurs in the brain. Patients are completely dependent on others for daily care. Symptoms can include weight loss, groaning, moaning, grunting, increased sleeping, and loss of bladder and bowel control. Usually, the death in patient of Alzheimer's disease occurs due to aspiration pneumonia and other infections. In the slide, you can see this is the normal brain and the degenerative brain in Alzheimer's disease. More pics of brain degradation you can see on the screen. And the hypothesis, pathophysiology, there are two hypotheses. Cholinergic hypothesis, which says acetylcholine is an important neurotransmitter in areas of brain involved in the memory function. Loss of acetylcholine activity correlates with the severity of Alzheimer's disease. So, the drugs used to treat Alzheimer's disease act by inhibiting acetylcholine esterase activity. These drugs block esterase-mediated metabolism of acetylcholine to choline and acetyl. And this causes increased level of acetylcholine at the synaptic cleft. As we all know, these are the synaptic cleft. Then how we diagnose the Alzheimer's disease? Experienced physicians in a specialized Alzheimer's disease center can now diagnose Alzheimer's disease with 90% accuracy. First, we can clear everyone Alzheimer's disease diagnosed clinically. Okay. Doctors can rule out other conditions that may cause dementia, which are previously mentioned. If it is Alzheimer's disease, families have more time to plan for the future. Treatment can start earlier when they may be more effective. It helps scientists learn more about the causes and development of Alzheimer's disease and how the Alzheimer patient should be assessed. Ask both the patient and a reliable informant about the patient's current condition, his medical history, his current medication and previous medication history, patterns of alcohol use or any drug abuse, and patient's environment and living conditions. In physical assessment, examine the patient neurological status, mental status, functional status using MMSC and Montreal Cognitive Assessment (MOCA) assessment. And neuropsychologic testing can also be done. In case of lab testing, complete blood count, blood chemistries, liver function, kidney functions, and serologic tests like syphilis, TSH, vitamin B12 level should be done. In case of imaging, first it must be clear as a young doctors, every patient of Alzheimer doesn't require imaging. Okay. When the imaging should be done, there are certain criteria. Use imaging when Alzheimer's patient dementia occurs at the age less than 65 years or symptoms have occurred for less than 2 years. If patient has history of dementia within 2 years, then you can think about the CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. You can think about the paraneoplastic dementias. Then you can go for imaging. If the neurologic signs are asymmetric, like plantar is extensor in the one limb and in the other is normal, you can go for the imaging. Clinical picture suggests normal pressure hydrocephalus. Normal pressure hydrocephalus clinical picture, there is a triad called Hakim triad. That is dementia, ataxia, and urinary incontinence. So basically, imaging is to rule out the Alzheimer's disease. Basically, to diagnose other causes of dementia. Consider non-contrast CT, MRI, and PET imaging. And areas of brain affected in Alzheimer's disease are cognition, behavior, and emotions. As we know, cognition, memory, learning, language, and praxis functions are affected. In behavior, communication, safety, and personal care deteriorate. In emotion, emotions are dysregulated. Patient could be very sad at one time. Patient could be very aggressive at other time, which is lability of mood. In case of treatment of Alzheimer's disease, if we see globally, this slide very clearly depicts there are 4.5 million patients of Alzheimer's disease. Then only 9 lakhs patients, 0.9 million patients are treated. And in that, only 500,000, that is 5,43,000 patients are treated with acetylcholinesterase inhibitors. So you can see the deficit in the treatment part also globally. Primary goal of treatment is to enhance quality of life and maximize functional performance by improving cognition, mood, and behavior. And the management of Alzheimer's disease could be non-pharmacologic, pharmacologic, specific symptom-related management also. In non-pharmacologic, cognitive enhancement, individual therapy, group therapy, regular appointments, communication with the family and caregivers, and environmental modifications so the patient could not be injured, and attention to the safety is of utmost care. If we talk about the pharmacological treatment, 6 approved drugs are for the Alzheimer's disease. First is donepezil, rivastigmine, galantamine, memantine, and combination of memantine and donepezil, which is memantine and donepezil is used as the combination name of Donamine in the 5 plus 5 mg dose. Then we can talk about the antibody. that is aducanumab antibody approved by the US FDA in 2021. It is amyloid beta directed antibody indicated in mild cognitive impairment or mild dementia. And aducanumab currently is not available in the India. Okay. There are miscellaneous drugs which are used as a trial in the Alzheimer's disease. Still, they are not proven therapeutically but can be used. They are piracetam, dihydroergotoxin, citicoline, pyripidine, and ginkgo biloba. Drugs approved in India is donepezil in the 5 mg, 10 mg in 2001, memantine 5 mg, 10 mg in combination with donepezil in 2008, memantine alone 2004, then memantine tablets 7, 14, and 21 and 28 mg extended release approved in 2010. Tacreme was approved in 1996 but withdrawn from the market due to side effect profile. Rivastigmine currently used in 0.5, 1.5 up to 5 mg. Rivastigmine transdermal patch are also available. If patient cannot take tablet orally, you can use rivastigmine transdermal patch, which are approved in 2008 and 2014. In case of symptom management, the patients of Alzheimer's disease frequently show sundowning phenomena. As the sun downs, patient develops psychotic features in the evening. Sleep disturbances are very common. Aggression and agitation is common, and hypersexuality is also reported in case of Alzheimer's disease. Now we can talk about what is the future of Alzheimer's disease. What are the trends in the future? What are the possibilities? There are few new theories about Alzheimer's disease. We know that tau accommodates in the medial temporal lobe of the brain during normal aging. This is the normal process. This is not pathological. Tau does not extend beyond the medial temporal lobe until amyloid beta is present in the cortex. Tau PET scanning has allowed us to potentially stage Alzheimer's disease in vivo. There is a staging called Braak staging which is used. You can see in the picture. There are anti-amyloid strategies. There are immunotherapies which are in current under the research. Initial studies was injecting animals with amyloid beta. Then antibody was developed and that antibody cleared amyloid plaque from the brains. Human studies prematurely ceased in 2002. Similar trial was done on the humans also, but in 2002 meningoencephalitis was developed in the 6% of patients, so the trial was ceased prematurely. But evidence that treatment had removed amyloid plaque from the brain gave the idea to the researchers that active immunization should not be abandoned and future work could be done on the anti-amyloid immunotherapy also. Alternative to actively immunizing with amyloid beta is a passive immunization, and it bypasses the need to respond to an antigen. Passive immunotherapy leading approach today for disease modifying treatment. Monoclonal antibodies target various domains of the amyloid beta peptide to prevent aggregation or speed up removal. Several monoclonal antibodies have been studied in clinical trials, including bepinezumab and gantenerumab, stopped prematurely due to lack of perceived efficacy. Subgroups did show benefit leading to further studies. This is the future of Alzheimer's disease, which in future work can be done on this. Restarted studies with gantenerumab, however, discontinued recently by US FDA. In monoclonal antibodies in June 2021, aducanumab was approved by the US FDA. That is monoclonal antibody IgG1. Recently, in January 2021, US FDA approved the first drug shown to slow down the Alzheimer's disease, that is lecanemab. Several other active studies are going with novel plaque clearing mechanisms such as donanemab and remitriptan, both in phase 3 trials. Phase 3 solanezumab failed to meet primary endpoints and slow cognitive decline in Alzheimer's patient. Trials of this drug are now continuing in prodromal Alzheimer's patient, higher doses extending for 3 years. Then Phase 3 trial is also going with the crenezumab failed to achieve statistical significance. So we are working on various drugs, various antibodies, few are failed, few are working and hoping for the better future. In anti-amyloid strategies, stopping aggregation. So there are few things which are basically told in the Ayurveda also, and scientifically also proven that curcumin, it is healthy. Curcumin spice is antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and anti-aggregation properties. It binds amyloid beta and reduces amyloid plaque burden in the mice, and this is scientifically trialed in the mice. Preliminary results show reduced rate of cognitive decline in normal healthy elderly receiving curcumin compared to placebo. Only short time frame, this trial was done for 6 months. So larger studies are needed for the curcumin also. Limited studies in the Alzheimer's disease patient have so far failed to show any benefit clinically. Then vitamin and antioxidant. It is the basic of neurology. Antioxidant therapy are for degenerative diseases. Where there is not single shot any treatment, we can use antioxidant to halt the progression of degenerative diseases. Omega-3 fatty acid found in fish oil and nuts thought to be neuroprotective. Studies have failed to show any improvement in cognition in Alzheimer's patient. In elderly without Alzheimer's, inconclusive evidence that they may slow cognitive decline. So, further larger studies are required. In Mediterranean diet, this is diet rich in fruits, vegetable, olive oil, legume, whole grains, and fish. Studies have shown that people that closely follow a Mediterranean diet are less likely to have Alzheimer's disease than those who don't. Research suggests that a Mediterranean diet may slow cognitive decline in older adults, reduce the risk of mild cognitive impairment, progression to Alzheimer's disease, slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease, and prevent disease-related death. A study looked at three different diets. That is Mediterranean diet, which is already mentioned. Second is DASH diet, which is diet designed to treat the hypertension, low salt and sugar. Third is the MIND diet. MIND diet is the combination of above two diets, emphasize natural plant-based food, limited saturated fat, encourage consumption of berries and green leafy vegetables. That is specifically benefit for brain health. Those who strictly follow any of these three diets had decreased risk of Alzheimer's disease. Even modest adoption of MIND diet approach. For example, 2 vegetable serving per week, 2 berry serving per week, 1 fish meal per week decrease risk of Alzheimer's disease. Researchers believe making healthy food choices, improved cholesterol and blood sugar level, better overall vessel health and reduce risk of mild cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's disease. There is another theory that is Mediterranean diet may help prevent brain tissue loss. That is not proven still. More studies are needed to know to what degree this diet prevent Alzheimer's disease or slow cognitive decline. Then brain training. That is the most important part. This is quite broad and can include a range of structured, mentally stimulating activities like crossword, learning a new language, reading a book, undertaking further education. Combining mental, social, and physical activity in leisure activities are best for reducing dementia risk. It is observed that the patients who are living lonely are more prone to dementia. Dedicated computerized brain training activities modest effect at improving cognitive performance in healthy older adults. And can intensive computerized training stop progress to cognitive decline and onset of dementia? So the studies are ongoing currently. The physical activity. Research into potential for physical exercise to reduce the risk of dementia is continuing. Still no randomized trial is available yet. It is proven that people who exercise regularly are less likely to have vascular disease, which increase risk of Alzheimer's disease. And physical activity also beneficial in patients that have dementia. Now the insulin resistant and the way the brain processes insulin may be linked to Alzheimer's disease. This is the new theory. Researchers are exploring the role of insulin in the brain and how brain cells use sugar and produce energy. Researchers have been studying diabetic medications such as pioglitazone, which has also potent anti-inflammatory effect. Then vascular dementia, vascular disease, same risk factor as for cerebrovascular diseases CVA, that is hypertension, heart disease, smoking, high cholesterol, obesity, stroke and diabetes are also risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. Relationship between vascular disease and Alzheimer's disease is complex and not fully understood. Observational studies has said that rate of cognitive decline in Alzheimer's disease decreases if the vascular risk factor better managed, like BP and sugar and salt are managed. If the CVA occurs, then the chances of dementia are decreased. There is a study called finger study. इस स्टडी में देखा गया कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ डाइट एक्सरसाइज कॉग्निटिव ट्रेनिंग एंड वेस्कुलर रिस्क फैक्टर मॉनिटरिंग इन एन एट रिस्क पॉपुलेशन. Early 2-year results looks promising in this study. Then familial Alzheimer's disease, genetic cause, a strong family history of Alzheimer's disease is present. Biomarkers, currently there are two areas, monoclonal antibodies which are promising future and biomarkers which are the promising future in case of Alzheimer's disease. Their diagnosis is straightforward if clinically obvious but is challenging when atypical or in early stages. So biomarkers clinical trials are in progress examining the brain imaging technique like amyloid beta and PET, biomarkers in CSF and blood, and retinal scanning technique like optical coherence tomography or angiography. So the outlook is in the future, Alzheimer's disease may be treated like other chronic diseases like diabetes and hypertension. Likely scenario could be start acetylcholine receptor acetylcholine receptor inhibitor and add a disease modifying drug like monoclonal antibodies, then non-pharmacological treatment and brain training. Limitation will be adverse effect and affordability. So the outlook is, although there have been many obstacles and setbacks along the way to developing treatment for the Alzheimer's disease, the future still looks promising. We are hopeful that an effective treatment will become available in the near future. Trials of several promising agents are in progress internationally. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, sir. It was really holistic presentation for Alzheimer's disease, and I'm very thankful that you included all the research work that is published and that is going on. And I would request Lalita to continue with the vote of thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. It was a very great presentation. We have few questions from the people who are attending here. I'll read out those questions. So the first question is from Dr. Saurabh. He has recently read an article about the gut microbiota relation with Alzheimer's disease. So what's the mechanism which is related with the gut microbiota dysbiosis and Alzheimer's? How does it cause Alzheimer's?
Okay. There is not specifically for the Alzheimer's. Gut-brain axis works for the all degenerative disease. Like Parkinson, also there are few papers which are published like gut microbiota affects the Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease. These are degenerative process by the oxidation process.
So, sir, then only kinds of dementia can be related to this gut microbiota dysbiosis?
Usually the Alzheimer's disease, degenerative disease. There are few other dementia also like normal pressure hydrocephalus, like frontotemporal dementias, which are not still proven. But the Alzheimer's disease, there are few publications which are saying that Alzheimer's disease is due to the gut-brain axis.
So that we can include Mediterranean diet to improve their chances of getting better with Alzheimer's disease?
The basic, only thing in the degenerative disease is back to the nature. जितना हम नेचर के करीब जाएंगे, कुदरत ने हमें जानवरों को मार के खाने के लिए नहीं बनाया, ठीक है. Basic is back to the nature, we will be healthy. This is the basic message of whole presentation.
Yes, sir, that's very true. And we have one more question from Anusha. She's asking regarding now emotions are dysregulated in dementia. So is the amygdala part of the brain also, is it having any changes because it's related to emotions?
Yes, entorhinal cortex and amygdala are part of limbic system, and limbic system affects the emotions. So, in case of Alzheimer's disease, emotions are affected.
Okay, sir. That's the question. And there was also one more question regarding this itself, because as you mentioned that in dementia, there are some psychosis and all which are seen. And in schizophrenia also we see hallucinations, delusions and everything. So how can we differentiate between them? Is it a schizophrenia or dementia?
Okay. There is diagnostic criteria, that is what is acute psychosis, what is schizophreniform, and what is schizophrenia. There are three different things. If the patient presents with the symptoms of delusion, hallucinations for 1 month, less than 1 month, then it is acute psychosis. 1 to 3 months, this is schizophreniform, and 3 months or more, then it is schizophrenia. And in schizophrenia, specifically, third third party auditory hallucinations are specific for the schizophrenia. In case of Alzheimer's disease, hallucinations are not the initial complaint. Hallucination with the time. So there will be history of years in case of Alzheimer's disease. But in schizophrenia, history of hallucinations will be predominant. While Alzheimer's disease patient comes to me for forgetfulness, he presents with the forgetfulness, then navigational error, रास्ते भूल जाने की प्रॉब्लम होगी, उसके बाद delusion and hallucination are very late in Alzheimer's. While in schizophrenia, delusion and hallucinations are the predominant complaint. That is the basic crux.
Okay, sir. And we have one more question. Dr. Amir has one more question. Like the main cause of death in dementia patients is because of the aspirational pneumonia. So
Yes.
why is that? Like how is it related?
एक बेसिक चीज है, जब भी आपका कॉग्निशन जाएगा, आप होश कम करने लगोगे, आप बेहोशी की हालत में जाओगे, गफलत में जाओगे, तो आप अपने आप को बहुत ज़्यादा संभाल नहीं पाओगे, इसलिए एस्पिरेशन के चांसेस ज़्यादा बढ़ते हैं. सिमिलरली ये सिर्फ अल्जाइमर के लिए नहीं है. एवरी पेशेंट विच इज इन आईसीयू एंड बेड बाउंड, मोस्ट कॉमन कॉज यूजुअली आर एस्पिरेशन न्यूमोनिया एज कॉज ऑफ डेथ.
Okay,
तो
because they are
हाइपरएस्पिरेशन इज
in.
वेरी कॉमन.
So because in the later stages, these people are on the bed and the food they take in and everything that might can lead to aspiration and that can lead to aspirational pneumonia.
यस.
Okay, okay, sir. And we have one last question.
एक और
Sorry.
इसमें एक चीज और भी होती है कि न्यूमोनिया में इसलिए कि जब पेशेंट लेटा रहता है तो उसकी चेस्ट की जो मसल्स होती है वो वीक हो जाती है काफी, जिनकी वजह से वो कफ नहीं कर पाता प्रॉपर, तो उसके अंदर धीरे धीरे सिक्रीशंस जो होते हैं वो जमा होने लगते हैं, इसलिए एस्पिरेशन न्यूमोनिया से ज्यादा प्रिवेलेंट होता है कॉज ऑफ.
Okay, sir. We have one last question from Dr. Tarun. He wants to know, like, what is the mechanism behind the circadian rhythm, which is related to cognitive decline? Because he has also read many articles on Google Scholar, which tells regarding the connection between them. So, how can that lead to Alzheimer's?
Repeat the question please.
Dr. Tarun wants to know how the circadian rhythm changes is related to Alzheimer's.
सर्केडियन रिदम चेंजेस डायरेक्टली नॉट कनेक्टेड टू द अल्जाइमर्स. ठीक है. जब स्लीप हम कम लेते हैं, जब हम स्लीप न्यूरोबायोलॉजी में जाते हैं, हाइपोथैलेमस के अंदर जो सुप्राचियास्मेटिक न्यूक्लियस है, दैट इज इंटरनल क्लॉक ऑफ बॉडी, जब वो हमारी चेंज होती है, स्लीप कम होती है, तो ब्रेन का जो है फंक्शन जो होता है वो प्रॉपर नहीं हो पाता है, जिसकी वजह से ये चीज है. डायरेक्टली प्रूवन नहीं है, और अगर डायरेक्टली कोई पेपर वगैरह पब्लिश हुआ है तो ऑनेस्टली आई हैव नॉट रीड दैट पेपर, एंड आई विल रीड दैट पेपर and will discuss with you in the next.
Sure. Thank you so much for answering all our questions. It was an incredible webinar and it was very great. You shared your knowledge and passion about the Alzheimer's disease and it was very inspiring. We are very grateful for the valuable information and guidance you have provided. The systematic approach where you taught us from the anatomy part of brain till the recent innovations, it was very great and well covered. And we would surely love to have future webinars with you regarding any interesting neurological topics. Thanks a
Sure.
lot once again.
Sure. Thank you. Good one.
Thank you so much.